Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for joining.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got about 11 attendees so far, and I know lots more will be trickling in. Happy Thursday. Hope you're all having a great day. We'll
Where's
probably
everyone calling from, by the way? Or coming from? South Dakota.
nice, nice. Representing South Dakota. Awesome.
Yes.
Welcome, Chris. Thanks so much. Yeah, let us know where you are dialing in from. I'm in Southern Ontario, and unfortunately, we are dealing with a bit of wildfire smoke, which I know is kind of making
Yes.
its rounds. Unfortunately, it's a tough time. But Anna, where are you dialed in from?
Calling from Kitchener. There was so much smoke yesterday. It was so weird to see the sun orange or red. Oh, I couldn't walk for too long. But
Yeah,
Metro
it really.
Detroit as well got some wildfire smoke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is unfortunately making its rounds. Matthew, you're coming in from Toronto. It sounds like you probably dealt with all the orange skies yesterday. It was very eerie. I don't know about all of you who experienced this, but it felt very apocalyptic to me. Ugh,
Yes. It
didn't.
was so yellow and smoky. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very unsettling, I have to say. Yeah. North Georgia, Ed, welcome. Orange County, California, Jerry, Mary Beth, Utah. Awesome. Thank you all so much for letting us know where you're dialing in from. For those of you just joining, feel free to just pop in the chat, let us know where you're at. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to share any tips on using Vidyard or what you're most excited for this session, or for anybody who's joined any past Vidyard workshops, if you want to just pop in the
Yeah.
chat, any takeaways, any cool things that you've learned, any light bulb moments, we would love to hear from you. Yeah, Jesse, the asthma, I can imagine that the wildfire smoke did not do any favors for that. Roger, Florida, where all the gators are. Welcome. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Happy to have you all here today. So we're about 2 minutes in. Mary Beth recently learned about actions. Yes, Mary Beth, honestly, actions are so underutilized. I'm so excited to hear that you recently learned about them. And if you have any cool use cases on how you're using Vidyard actions, feel free to share those in the Zoom chat as well. Perfect. So we're 2 minutes in. Again, thank you all so much for being here. We super appreciate it. And just a quick couple of things here. So first and foremost, to introduce myself, my name is Erica Morgan, and I'm the lead implementation manager here at Vidyard, coming up on almost 8 years. So I've been here for a minute. And basically, I just help all of our new customers get up and running, get their accounts set up, and most importantly, get all of their teams trained. Over to you, Anna.
Awesome. Thanks, Erica. So I'm Anna Nguyen. I've been here for about 2 years and I'm on the frontlines team here at Vidyard. So I work with like inbound leads. Also, I do a lot of prospecting when it comes to outbound. So we use our video agents and AI avatars quite a lot when it comes to our outreach. But yeah, excited to kind of share what we have in store today and how we utilize Vidyard as well.
Awesome, amazing. Thanks so much. All right, so we can jump right into it here. For anybody joining a Vidyard workshop series session for the very first time, there's a couple of quick things that we do want to share with you all. So first of all, the Vidyard workshop series is where our team walks you through practical ways to get more out of Vidyard. These sessions are hands-on with real examples that you can put into action right away. You can also check out all of the past sessions on demand if you missed them. I think we are on session 10 today, I believe. So we've been running these for several months. There's lots of great content. So if you kind of want to scroll back and take a look at the past sessions, those are available on demand for you. A couple of quick logistics for the session. Please feel free to drop your reactions and comments in the chat, but please make sure that you're saving your questions for the Q&A tab specifically, just so that way it makes it easier for our team running behind the scenes here just to check the Q&A, and we can make sure that we can get all of your questions answered at the end. We welcome all the questions, so if you want to pop those in, please feel free. Anna and I will be very excited to answer those at the end of this session. And please don't worry about taking notes. You're going to get a recording of today's session when we're done, including all the links, the recording, etc. So let's get right into it. Perfect. So over the last few workshops, we've covered a lot of day-to-day and more technical ways that teams use Vidyard. We've talked about everything from video analytics to viewer insights, things like view notifications, viewer engagement, watch time, how to use those signals to guide follow-ups, etc. Last session last month, we went into the technical side of Vidyard, where we talked about the viewer or the Vidyard Player API, programmatic embedding, browser events, and webhooks. And that session was really about what your team can build with Vidyard under the hood. Today, we're moving into a different but equally important part of the platform, which covers account, security, and admin best practices. This session is specifically for folks who need to make sure that Vidyard is set up properly behind the scenes. So things like who has access, what team they belong to, what permissions they have. And then we're also going to jump into single sign-on. So there's lots to cover on that. That will kind of be one of the meatier topics today. And then what to know about GDPR. So we'll talk about what that is, why it matters, data retention and deletion, and then of course, where to manage subscription and billing details. So that's the gist of what you can expect from all of us today. And the goal is to make sure that your Vidyard account is secure, organized, and easy for your team to use without things getting messy over time.
Awesome. So before we get into the product, let's spend a little minute on why this matters. As your team uses Vidyard more, the admin side becomes more important. And it's what helps keeps the account organized, secure, and easy for people to use. This is where you control the basics that keep everything running properly. Who has access, what teams they belong to, what permissions they have, how people sign in, and how the data is handled, and where billing or subscription details live. When these things are clear, your team can move faster with less friction. New users can get added properly. The right people have the right access. SSO can support a more secure sign-in experience. And when questions come up around GDPR, data retention, or billing, you know where to go. So that's what today is about. We'll walk through the core admin areas and help you manage Vidyard with confidence, account access and user setup, teams and permissions, SSO configuration, GDPR, and data retention basics, and subscription and billing. By the end, you should know where these settings live, what each one's control, and what to check first as your team grows or your account needs to change. So yeah, awesome. I think we're gonna get into the demo now.
Yeah, awesome.
Awesome.
I'm gonna hijack the screen share. All right. Let me just get into it here. Awesome. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. I am in my Vidyard library, and I'm going to go ahead and assume that we are good to go here. Let me know if otherwise. Super. So as we talked about the agenda today, the first thing that we're going to cover is managing users. So hopefully for all of you that are on the call today, this looks somewhat familiar, but if not, this is the library page within your Vidyard account. So if you're not familiar with the structure of Vidyard, we have what's called the parent account, which is kind of the top of the totem pole, the top of the hierarchy. This is where you can manage users, set up single sign-on, set up things like GDPR that we're going to talk about later, manage user permissions, and of course, you can also set up as many folders within Vidyard as you'd like. So if you missed the past session where we covered folders, highly suggest going back and looking at that one. You can have as many as 8 folder levels deep within Vidyard, and that's going to matter here momentarily when we talk about custom Vidyard teams and what access and permissions that they have. So with that, anybody who's an admin, this session is going to be especially helpful for all of you. That's where we're going to be spending the majority of our time here is on the user section on the left-hand side. So we're going to start with managing users. So if you are logged into Vidyard, if you want to follow along, feel free to do so. Again, if you have any questions as we're going through the conversation today, make sure you pop them in the Q&A, and Anna and I and the rest of the Vidyard team will keep an eye on those. So we're going to go to admin on the left-hand side and click users. So this is a bit of a test account. I don't have a whole lot of users in here, but you kind of get the idea. When you want to add your users to your Vidyard account, you can do that in a couple of different ways. You can add them one-off by hitting add users in the top right, or you can actually bulk or batch upload all of your new users using a CSV file with all their email addresses. So the most important thing to keep in mind here, and we're going to get into Vidyard Teams momentarily, so this will make more sense. When you're adding your users, make sure you're selecting the correct Vidyard team that they belong to when you add them. So if I'm going to be adding a couple of admins, maybe they're going to be setting up my Vidyard integration or my branding, etc. I want to make sure that I'm selecting admin as the team. Whereas maybe I'm a BDR manager or a customer success manager and I want to add my team as users where they have slightly limited permissions, I'm going to be selecting user instead. So you can add one off, or you can add the upload the CSV, select your team, and then hit add. And then if you're provisioning users directly through Vidyard, so we're going to get to single sign-on in a minute, which is a slightly different workflow, but provisioning users through Vidyard, you're going to be able to add and remove them here. As soon as you add them, they will get an email from us letting them know that you have added them to your organization's Vidyard account, and from there they can accept and activate that invitation. One thing I do want to call out here, because I know this is easily missed on the users page, is if you want to, even probably a little bit further into your Vidyard deployment, if you want to check to see who's using their Vidyard licenses and when they were last active, the users page is a quick and easy way to do that. So if let's say, I have 100 users within my Vidyard account who are doing various things with video, if maybe I pop in here and I see that somebody hasn't logged in 6 months or a year, I might want to reevaluate whether that person still needs their license. And if not, I would take that away and I can reallocate that to another team member. So if you've missed this previously, the last active column here on the users page can be really helpful. And then another quick note when it comes to removing users, again, this is outside of single sign-on. This is just within Vidyard. If somebody has left the organization or doesn't need their Vidyard license anymore, you can click the ellipsis tool to the right of their name and hit remove. So this will revoke their access, but the good news is any videos that they've recorded or uploaded into your Vidyard account will live and breathe basically till the end of time until you delete them. So you don't have to worry about loss of data or loss of videos there. Awesome. So that's user management from within Vidyard. And I do want to talk about Teams a little bit before we get into single sign-on. So similarly, if you're an admin, you're going to go to the admin panel on the left-hand side. And this time we're clicking on Teams. So teams are basically just user roles or permission sets. So a couple of benefits to setting up custom teams, depending on what's included in your Vidyard contract. Out of the gate, everybody has one admin team and one user team. The admin team cannot be edited, but the user team can be. So you can say that everybody in the user team has access to this folder, but not this one. They have the permission to do this action, but not that. So you can pop in here, and if you have unlimited teams, you can, of course, add more in here. The great benefit, not only to permissions with Vidyard Teams, is you can also break down reporting a little bit. So if you want to make it super easy to report on how your SDR team is performing with video versus your customer success team, you can go to Insights, Team Performance, and then there is a great, easy to follow drop down here. So if I just wanted to see what that user team is doing, I hit update. This, of course, is a sandbox account, but you kind of get the idea. So for reporting purposes, Vidyard Teams can be really, really helpful. Once you've set that team up, you're going to be able to pop in and make edits to the permissions by clicking on the team name. And then you want to hit manage beside folder access and permissions. So your screen will look slightly different than this. You're going to be able to edit what they can and can't do. But just to give you a quick overview, these are the different permissions that you can toggle on or off. And as I mentioned, you can also control which folder access each of the teams has access to. I will say as well, we're probably going to share this in the follow-up, but for anybody looking to get a bit more information, just want to flag our help center, which you can access by going to knowledge.vidyard.com. So if you're trying to learn about which different team permission settings you have access to and what they mean, or literally any other element of Vidyard, pop into, again, knowledge.vidyard.com. You can do a quick search and you can get all the information that you need here. So for a better understanding of team permissions, I would highly suggest checking out this one. Super. So that's Vidyard users and Vidyard teams. The next thing we want to chat about is single sign-on and the amazing benefits to setting that up. So first of all, just want to preface single sign-on with the fact that this is a bit twofold with Vidyard. So for those of you familiar with SSO using an IDP, this is usually where you're going through Okta or Azure or anything else to access software within your organization. So it just keeps things nice and secure. So that's one element is user permission or user provisioning with single sign-on with Vidyard. The other half of single sign-on is going to be security. So if, for example, you want to make sure that there's videos within your account that are only accessible to internal employees at your organization, making sure that you have single sign-on set up and enabled and configured properly is going to help lock down and secure that content. So user provisioning and then locking down and securing content, those are the two main buckets for single sign-on with Vidyard. So again, if you're an admin and you do want to set up single sign-on, we're going to pop into the admin panel on the left-hand side at the bottom. And then this time we're clicking on single sign-on. So for anybody familiar with the different single sign-on IDPs that you can use, again, Okta, Azure, there's lots of other ones, Google, things like that. So if you're an admin, you're going to be able to set up single sign-on in your Vidyard account by following the setup here. So you would want to add the profile, and then you want to go ahead and complete the rest of the steps, which I can't do from my sandbox account here, but within your organization, your team will be able to do that. So for starters, for managing user access, so again, user permissioning, using single sign-on, again, you're going to do this within your own organization. You're going to either batch add or single add different users, assign a Vidyard team to them to make sure they have the correct access and permissions, and then they are ready to hit the races. The one big difference here with user provisioning with single sign-on is they're not going to get an email from Vidyard letting them know that they have a license. Instead, they're going to go directly through the IDP. So again, Okta Azure, they're going to click on that Vidyard tile and then they're going to have their access. So slightly different workflow there, but essentially the same concept. So that's the user provisioning side of single sign-on. The other piece that I want to speak to here again is just around security. So when you have single sign-on set up, you've got your different profiles set up within Vidyard. Again, you're going to be able to lock down particular types of content. So a quick example of how we would use that here at Vidyard, we have single sign-on internally, just like most organizations. And when we have internal video recordings, so maybe it's a company update, a company all hands, anything that definitely should just be locked in internally, we're going to be leveraging our single sign-on for that. So basically, in order to view a video within your account, any of your team members will actually have to log into Vidyard first. And the nice benefit to this is all those video views will also be identified. So at Vidyard, we have approximately 150 employees. And when we get a company-wide video that needs to be viewed around any content, we have to, again, log in, but then also all of our video views are documented within Vidyard. So if you want to kind of track who's watched, who hasn't, how much of a video has been viewed, all of those views will be identified if you're using single sign-on for them. So as I mentioned, you're going to go to admin, single sign-on, you're going to hit add profile, you're going to walk through all those steps. Another really important thing to pay attention to with single sign-on in particular is these need to directly correlate to the Vidyard teams that you've set up. So going back to the Teams page, so right now I just have admin and user, super simple, but if I'm a larger organization that maybe has 5 other custom teams, I want to make sure in my IDP when single sign-on is getting configured for Vidyard that I'm directly mapping those teams to the correct team within the IDP. So just one important element that I do want to call out there just to make sure that everything is seamless for user provisioning for you. Super. So that's kind of the basics of single sign-on. I do highly, highly recommend if single sign-on is included in your Vidyard contract. If you haven't already set it up, there are so many wonderful benefits to doing so. So again, obviously we've got user permissioning, helps keep things clean and tidy and secure. But then of course, being able to lock down and secure your content is going to be equally valuable. If you do want to learn a little bit more about single sign-on, again, either for user provisioning or for restricting viewership, we have fantastic Help Center articles that we can share out, or you can look those up at knowledge.vidyard.com. I do also just want to give a quick example. So this is a Vidyard hub, and if anybody is not familiar, it's basically kind of a Netflix of your Vidyard videos. And this is a great example where we have our customer Vivint, where they've locked all of their content behind a Vidyard hub. So it's kind of gated content. So if I'm an employee at Vivint, I'm going to have a Vidyard license. That is going to be required, and I have to sign in to get behind that wall to see all the company content. So maybe it's, safety and training videos, maybe it's updates on a company kickoff, it's anything internal. So this is just a quick example of something that you can do using single sign-on with Vidyard. Awesome. So moving on to the next topic, I want to speak a little bit to GDPR. And if you're not familiar, I did have to write this down, General Data Protection Regulation. So this is where this is a consumer protection and data privacy law that applies to companies that do business in the European Economic Area. I always knew it as GDPR. I actually did have to look up the acronym, but it can be very important. Again, if you are doing business with any prospects or customers that are in the European regions, if you want to make sure that you are GDPR compliant, and the easiest way to do this is basically to set up what's called a GDPR banner on your Vidyard sharing page. So if you're not familiar with what a Vidyard sharing page is, it's basically just a default landing page where your videos can be viewed that are maybe not embedded on your website. And I've got a quick example of this here from one of our customers, First Data. So this is what their Vidyard sharing page looks like. So they can share their videos out, let's say in an email newsletter. Maybe they've got an integration with Marketo or HubSpot. They're linking out to this video from that email newsletter. The customer clicks on it, they land on this page, and then we have that GDPR banner at the bottom. So this is where you can hit, we've all seen this experience across different websites. You can hit accept or disable cookies and tracking. And usually what we recommend for most of our customers here, if you are needing GDPR regulation set up, whatever cookie banner you have on your website, you can basically mirror that on your Vidyard sharing page, which is essentially what First Data has done here. So they have the same cookie tracking banner with all the same details, all the same verbiage, and they've basically mimicked that into Vidyard. And that's usually the simplest and easiest way to get that set up to make sure that you are GDPR compliant. And then all the same rules are going to apply. So whatever has been set up on your website, if somebody accepts the use of cookies, this is where Vidyard is going to be able to tell you first name, last name at company.com watched your video. So if you're not familiar, we do have the ability to provide identified video viewership, which from a sales perspective or even a marketing perspective, getting those identified views can be very, very helpful. But of course, when we're reaching out to European folks, we need to get their permission in order to be GDPR compliant. And then if they go with the option to disable cookies and tracking, we are not able to give any PI data, which is personally identifiable data. Instead, we're basically just going to be able to tell you that someone watched your video, but not their location, not their email address, or any other PI data. So we make sure that you're fully GDPR compliant, and your Vidyard team can also help you make sure that that all gets set up correctly. So that's the gist of GDPR. Again, if you want to learn a little bit more about that, our Help Center has lots and lots of great, not only knowledge articles, but also we link out to other resources. So if you want to make sure that you're compliant, highly suggest starting there. And then the next topic we want to chat a little bit about high level is reviewing billing seats and subscription settings. This is going to vary depending on the Vidyard contract and package that you have. So your screen may look a little bit different than mine, but as an admin, you can go to the admin panel again on the left-hand side. And then under the billing page, we've got some high level usage data for you to start with here. So you can see how many users are being leveraged versus the allocated seats that you're paying for, how many Vidyard teams you have, video embeds, hubs, etc. So this is just a quick snapshot, high level of what's going on in your account, what's being used, and what you maybe have room to grow into. Again, depending on your Vidyard contract and what you have access to, you can also potentially directly request more seats within your account. So if we go back to the admin users page, you can see that I have 1 out of my 5 Vidyard seats being leveraged. Maybe all 5 of those are being occupied and I need to add 2 more. Maybe I've added to my head count for my team. So you can self-serve seats depending on the type of Vidyard package that you have by just hitting, I believe it's request seats in the top right. So feel free to do that. If not, if you're on the enterprise plan, then you can just reach out to your account executive and they can, of course, help you with that. So that's kind of high level there. There are a couple of other different features when it comes to Vidyard workspaces, etc. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, would definitely recommend hopping over to the Help Center. The last topic for me that I want to touch on, which I think will be extremely valuable, especially for admins, is the account history feature. So this won't necessarily be applicable to everybody. Again, it really boils down to what Vidyard plan that you're on. But if you're on a Vidyard plan that does include this feature, I highly suggest leveraging it. So with account history, you can go to admin history on the left-hand side. And then this is basically going to give you a snapshot of what is happening in your account and who's making which changes. So let's say, for example, as a use case, I'm an admin of the Vidyard account. All of a sudden, maybe I see that there have been some changes to the folder structure or some videos have been deleted or moved or things like that. I probably want to make sure that I know who made those changes and why. If it was a mistake, especially for video deletions, I know I've done that myself in the past. So you can pop into your history section. Again, you can see when the change was made, and then you're also going to be able to revert that change. So if a video was deleted, that's one of the higher use cases that I typically see. You're going to be able to restore that video and all of the data that comes with it. So if you do have this feature and you're not using it, highly suggest doing so. We also have a great filter option. So maybe there's hundreds of different changes that are in your account history and you just specifically care about actions or team changes. You're going to be able to filter by those specifics. And that's pretty much it for me. I want to make sure that I reserve some time for questions. And I know Anna has a couple of other things to cover. So if there are any questions, definitely feel free to ask us. Otherwise, that is all from me.
Awesome. And so, oh, sorry. You guys have my screen okay, Erica?
Oh yeah, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I can see
Awesome.
it. Yeah. So
Cool.
yeah, I can just quickly recap what we've covered today. And I do see there's a couple questions in the chat. So I will definitely make sure to get to those. Thank you so much for asking. I just want to quickly recap what we've covered today. So you should now know how to use how to add and remove users, how to add and edit Vidyard teams and permissions and how they work together. And then we also looked at single sign-on. So again, that can be for user provisioning. It can also be for securing and locking down your video content so that only your internal team has access. And then we talked a little bit about GDPR, the data retention, what it looks like, and how to set that up on your sharing page. And then finally, we looked at subscription and billing settings, including where to find all of that details, and then the account history. So for where to start, I would probably just keep it super practical. So first, review your users and check that last active column that we looked at earlier. If somebody hasn't used their license in several months or longer, you may want to reach out to them to see if they actually still use the license. And if not, you can reallocate that to somebody else on your team. And then confirm team assignments. Is everybody still in the correct team? Do those teams still have the correct permissions that they should have? Do changes need to be made? So a quick audit, I would highly recommend. And then looking at access settings for sensitive video content, that's another action item that you could do today. And then reviewing your billing, your subscription settings, etc. Just a couple of quick actions and takeaways that you can have.
Awesome. And before we wrap up, here's just a quick preview of what's coming next. We're kicking off the next Vidyard workshop series in September, and we're going to dive deeper into how to use Vidyard for specific jobs. We'll be doing dedicated sessions on Vidyard for prospecting, sales, customer onboarding, customer management, marketing, campaigns, and more. Before that, we'll be hosting our quarterly product webinar in August, and in that webinar, we'll be going through everything that's newly launched in our Vidyard app over the last quarter and how to use all our newest products, updates. So keep an eye out for that date soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Anna. And I see some
Yeah.
great questions. Thanks, James. I'll
Yeah.
tackle yours first. So, James, sounds like your team is working with a vendor that sends out your emails and you'd like to integrate with Vidyard to that platform. It depends on the platform, James. We do integrate with the majority of platforms. And to your point, if it's not a platform we directly integrate with, you can absolutely use Vidyard APIs. I would just confirm that APIs are included in your contract. If not, you can certainly reach out to the Vidyard team and they can help ensure that that gets added and what the pricing package would be. So that is question one. And then, yeah, so going back to the API tokens, it's probably not on the starter plan, James. That's a great call out. So if you do need to integrate with another party, it would just be an upgrade. But again, you can reach out to the Vidyard team. We can give you some pricing and options on that to make it as seamless as possible. Let me know if I missed anything there, James. Thanks for asking. And Kathleen, in the history, seeing an entry for sales teams permissions were created. The users showing related to these entries are not admins. What would this be referencing? That would probably be something that you'd have to reach out to Vidyard support for, Kathleen, just unless if we were able to do a screen share, which we can't do on the webinar, unfortunately. If we were able to do that, we could probably give you a little bit more insight. But you should be able to, within your Vidyard account, just do a chat with our team and they should be able to give you a bit more information. Otherwise, I would suggest going to knowledge.vidyard.com, which is our help center. Usually, most of our messages or error messages that pop up, if you need clarification, if you copy and paste exactly that detail, we should have something that's going to reference what that represents. Hopefully that helps. And I'm just going to double check the Q&A. The share page had a website. Roger, great question. The share page had a website menu at the top. Was that added via HTML? Yes, absolutely. So for our Vidyard sharing page, what the majority of our customers typically do is they mimic the header and or footer from their website directly onto the Vidyard sharing page. So from a branding perspective, it's very seamless for me to go to Acme Company's website, then to their Acme Company's Vidyard sharing page. It's all going to look and feel the same. So that can be set up either using CSS, HTML, and or JavaScript, Roger. So yeah, you can absolutely have as much or as little detail in the header and footer on that sharing page as you'd like. Hopefully that helps. I don't know if I saw any other questions, but if we've missed anything, you can pop them into the Q&A, or if you want, you can do them in the chat as well. And let us know if we missed the mark on any of those answers. Happy to help.
Awesome. Well, yeah, if there's any last questions, feel free to pop them in the chat.
Yeah, other than that, that is a wrap from Anna and I. Thank you all so much, not only for joining today, but also asking some amazing questions and
Yes.
following along. We really appreciate it.
And if you want to continue the conversation, just feel free to book some time in my calendar. Link is in the chat. So see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of
Thank
your Thursday.
you.
Take care.
Bye.